In today's thrilling science fiction tale, we begin with scientists discovering a massive meteoroid shower heading straight for Earth. The devastation is catastrophic, cities crumbling, millions of lives lost in an instant. High above, aboard a space station, the last surviving astronaut faces a desperate situation. Will he be able to save his family back on Earth? Our story opens with a small meteorite fragment entering Earth's atmosphere. It slams into a car, setting off a chain of events. Inside this car is Laura, our main character, on her way to college with her mother Rachel, stepfather Boris, and stepbrother Edgar. Today, Laura is excited because she has a big racing competition. But Laura has never been comfortable around her stepfamily, especially with her stepfather Boris and Edgar, whom she doesn't get along with. The news reports that a large number of meteorites will be passing by Earth soon, but scientists assure everyone that there's no danger. With that in mind, Laura focuses on her race. She's a talented runner, known for being fast, and she starts to take the lead easily. But just as she's about to cross the finish line, her boyfriend Sean appears on the sidelines, showing off and trying to impress her. The sudden attention throws her off balance. Sean's flashy behavior triggers a deep fear in Laura, a phobia of fire that she's had since childhood. Terrified, she freezes, loses focus, and ultimately loses the race. After the race, Rachel gets a call from Laura's real father, Victor, who has been working on the International Space Station for 6 years. Victor and Rachel had divorced long ago, and she had since married Boris. Although he's far away in space, Victor keeps a watchful eye on Laura from the station, using advanced equipment and his AI assistant Mira to monitor her well-being. During the call, Rachel tells Victor about Laura's fear of fire and how it cost her the race today. She suggests they seek professional help for Laura's phobia. Laura, overhearing the conversation, storms off angrily, frustrated that her fears continue to hold her back. But her mood lightens a little when Sean, with his robotic arm, manages to make her laugh, bringing some comfort after a tough day. Sean was the one person Laura felt at ease with, someone who could bring her comfort when she needed it most. Meanwhile, up in the space station, scientists were busy analyzing data for the incoming meteoroid wave. What they discovered next sent a chill through the entire crew. Their AI system, Mira, had made a critical error in predicting the meteoroid shower's path. Instead of passing harmlessly by Earth, as initially thought, the meteoroids were now on a direct collision course with the planet. This terrifying revelation caused a wave of panic among the crew members. Back on Earth, little Edgar was feeling down because he had been eagerly waiting to see the meteorite shower. According to the news, it was supposed to be a rare, beautiful sight that would pass close to Earth. Edgar had no idea that he would witness the meteoroid shower from a much closer distance than anyone expected. Noticing Edgar's disappointment, Laura tried to lift his spirits. She pointed out a new, empty building being constructed nearby and told him that from the top of that building, he'd have the perfect view of the meteorite shower. Laura even suggested that instead of going to school the next day, Edgar should sneak up to the deserted building to watch the event. Edgar, excited by the idea, decided to follow through with her plan. The next day, when his parents dropped him off at school, Edgar secretly made his way to the abandoned building instead. He was excited to see the meteorite shower up close, unaware of the true danger heading their way. Back at the space station, things took an even more terrifying turn. The crew discovered that the meteoroid shower wasn't made up of just small fragments. Among them were massive meteoroids that would strike the Earth with catastrophic force. The data showed that nearly every country would suffer severe damage. Worse still, the space station itself was also in the meteoroid's path. The crew would need to act fast to save themselves. Victor, overwhelmed with fear for his daughter, tried frantically to reach Laura from space. He sent desperate calls down to Earth, hoping to warn her of the impending disaster. But it was too late. The first meteoroids began to slam into Earth, triggering massive shockwaves that unleashed destruction everywhere. As meteoroids rained down, the space station was hit as well, causing it to start breaking apart. On Earth, Laura had just grabbed her phone when she realized the meteoroid shower had begun. She watched in horror as massive rocks from the sky smashed into the ground around her. Panicking, she grabbed her belongings and ran for the exit. Outside, people were screaming and running for their lives as buildings began to collapse. With no time to waste, Laura leapt from the balcony of her apartment onto a nearby car to escape the crumbling building. Chaos had engulfed the streets, with people running in all directions, desperate to escape the destruction. Laura, caught in the stampede, suddenly spotted Sean. Without hesitation, they began running together, searching for any safe place to hide. But all around them, buildings were collapsing under the force of the meteoroids crashing down. In the confusion, a massive piece of debris separated them. Sean was thrown to the ground, away from Laura. Before she could help him, a speeding car knocked her off her feet. Fortunately, the couple in the car were kind-hearted. They quickly stopped, pulling Laura to safety inside their vehicle. Laura, regaining consciousness, could barely process what was happening. As the car sped forward, she looked out the window in horror. Behind them, tall buildings were toppling onto the highways, turning the city into a nightmare of destruction. The devastation was everywhere. There was no escape. The couple drove as far as they could, but soon their car got stuck in the debris. Forced to abandon the vehicle, all three of them scrambled out, knowing they would have to continue on foot. Meteoroids were still crashing down around them, and the danger was far from over. Laura, running as fast as she could, saw a nearby mall and made a dash for it. But just as she neared the entrance, a loud explosion rocked the area, sending her flying from the impact. Meanwhile, back on the space station, Victor was slowly regaining consciousness. When he awoke, he found himself in an unimaginable situation. The station had been severely damaged by the meteoroid impacts, and all of his crew members had perished in the collision. He was now the only survivor. As he struggled to process the loss, AI Mira provided him with grim news. The meteoroid shower had caused catastrophic damage across Earth. Millions had already died, and rescue efforts were underway for the survivors. At that moment, Victor received a video call from the head of NASA. The news was dire. The space station had been knocked out of orbit by the meteorite impact and was now on a slow descent toward Earth. In 3 hours, it would crash into the planet. Victor was told to abandon the station immediately and use the escape pod to return to Earth. The meteoroid shower had seemingly stopped, giving him a narrow window of time to make his escape. Despite the urgency, Victor refused to leave just yet. His mind was consumed with worry about his family. He demanded Mira search for any information about them. After a few tense moments, Victor's worst fears seemed to lift slightly when Rachel's phone finally connected. Her voice on the other end was a welcome relief. She told him she was safe in a hospital with Boris. At this point, the AI had successfully tracked down Laura's location, finding her phone despite it being damaged. To maintain contact, the AI connected to a toy nearby that had a camera and microphone. Through this toy, Victor was able to see and talk to Laura, offering him a moment of relief as he saw that she was safe. He told her that her mother, Rachel, was safe with Boris at a nearby hospital and urged her to go there immediately. However, they still had no idea where little Edgar was. Just then, a rescue team arrived at the mall and managed to get Laura to safety. Victor, watching from space, arranged for a video conference between himself, Rachel, and Laura, hoping to find out more about Edgar's whereabouts. When Laura asked about Edgar, Boris reassured her that the entire school had been evacuated and that the children had been brought to the hospital. But when they checked, Edgar was not among the rescued children. Suddenly, Laura remembered in shock. Edgar hadn't gone to school that day. He had gone to the top of the nearby unfinished building to watch the meteoroid shower, just as she had suggested. With growing fear, she confessed this to everyone. Victor, still connected through the AI, quickly checked the building from space and discovered a devastating fact. Several meteoroids had struck the structure, leaving it in critical condition. It could collapse at any moment. Despite Victor's pleas for Laura to stay away from the dangerous building, she couldn't bear the thought of leaving Edgar in harm's way, especially since it was her idea that put him there. She made the decision to rush to the building and save her stepbrother. But before Victor could stop her, the station's power began to fail. His connection to Earth broke, and he was left in a darkened, silent space station. The AI informed him that the station's battery had less than 2 hours of power left, after which the station would re-enter Earth's atmosphere and burn up. Victor couldn't abandon his family, especially with Laura heading into danger. Determined, Victor asked the AI about backup batteries, learning that they were located in a damaged part of the station. Without hesitation, he suited up for a dangerous spacewalk, carrying cables with him as he made his way through the treacherous environment. Dodging debris and avoiding lethal hazards, he managed to reach the backup power unit. With steady hands, he connected the AI equipment to the spare battery, bringing power back to the station and restoring his connection to Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, Laura had reached the crumbling building, which was dangerously close to collapse. Ignoring the falling debris and the shaking structure, she dashed inside, calling out Edgar's name. She began climbing up, pushing her way through the broken walls and floors. On the 10th floor, she finally found Edgar, huddled and scared, but unharmed. Relief washed over her as she realized he was safe. With the AI back online, Victor quickly re-established contact with Laura. He urgently warned her that the building they were in was going to collapse in just a few minutes, and since they were on the 10th floor, they needed to move fast. He advised them to take a route through the center of the building, where the damage from the meteoroid impacts was less severe. Laura wasted no time. She grabbed Edgar's hand and led him to the stairs, guiding him down as quickly as possible. But just as they started their descent, Edgar's toy, the one allowing them to stay in contact with Victor, fell down the stairs, cutting their communication. Now, without Victor's guidance, Laura had to trust her instincts. The fear gripped Victor as he helplessly watched from the space station, knowing the building could collapse at any moment. As the building groaned and crumbled, Laura and Edgar reached the ground level just in time. The structure began to cave in behind them as they ran, debris falling around them. But miraculously, they escaped unharmed. Laura quickly found a nearby store, hiding Edgar inside to catch their breath. She gave him some water, and for a moment, they were safe. As they rested, Edgar, still shaken, asked Laura about her father, Victor, and how he had helped them so much from space. Laura, hesitant at first, decided to share a story from her childhood that she had kept locked away. She told Edgar about the day she got stuck in an elevator when she was very young. Victor, her father, had been outside, trying to pry the elevator doors open to rescue her. But then, due to a short circuit, the wires inside the elevator caught fire. Laura had been terrified watching the flames, and that was the moment she developed her deep fear of fire, a phobia that haunted her to this day. She explained how that incident had changed everything. Victor had blamed himself for not being able to save her, feeling guilty for the trauma she had endured. That guilt had created a rift between them. After that day, he never spoke about it, and eventually, he and Rachel divorced. Victor had gone to space and hadn't returned to Earth in the 6 years since. The distance between them wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. After resting for a while, Laura and Edgar knew they had to find a way to the hospital. They started moving again, but soon Edgar noticed something strange. The cars around them were suddenly flashing their alarms, and the traffic lights seemed to be directing them. Laura realized what was happening. Her father, Victor, was hacking the systems from space, guiding them safely through the destruction. With renewed hope, Laura and Edgar followed the signals. After some time, they finally spotted the rescue camp in the distance. By this time, the entire city lay in ruins, destruction all around. In space, Victor felt a momentary sense of relief knowing that Laura was safe. However, there was no time to waste. He had only minutes left before the space station would plummet toward Earth. He quickly started heading to the escape shuttle, ready to make his descent. But then, back on Earth, a massive explosion rocked the area. Laura managed to survive, but Edgar was badly injured. Victor, back in space, immediately checked the situation with AI Mira. The explosion, it turned out, had come from a small ship. But then Mira revealed something far more dangerous. There was a much larger ship near the rescue camp, and it had caught fire. If it exploded, everyone in the surrounding area would be killed. The realization struck Victor like a hammer. His daughter and everyone around her were in imminent danger. He turned back toward the escape shuttle, determined to help Laura any way he could. On Earth, unaware of this new threat, Laura rushed Edgar to a nearby rescue helicopter. But when they reached it, the helicopter was already full. The rescuers refused to take Edgar, leaving Laura in panic. Then, to her surprise, Sean appeared. Seeing Laura's worry for her injured brother, Sean made a selfless decision. He got off the helicopter, giving up his place so Edgar could be taken to safety. Laura watched as her brother was airlifted to the hospital, where he would finally be reunited with Rachel and Boris. Now standing with Sean, Laura had little time to process everything that was happening. Suddenly, Victor made contact again, this time through Sean's phone. His voice carried a grave warning. The large ship nearby was about to explode, and this blast would be far more devastating than the earlier one. They needed to find shelter immediately, to run and hide in a secure bunker. But as Laura scanned the area, her heart sank. The rescue camp was filled with injured people, many of them trapped. If the ship exploded, all of them would perish. That's when Sean spoke up. He told her that every large ship is equipped with a fire extinguishing system, which could stop the fire and prevent the explosion. But the system had to be activated manually, and the only way to do that was to get inside the burning ship. Victor, hearing this, was quick to intervene. He reminded Laura of her deep phobia of fire. She had never been able to face it, not since that childhood incident. He warned her not to be reckless. "Don't be foolish, Laura," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "You can't go in there. You have to save yourself now." Laura, filled with determination, told Victor that she wasn't the kind of person who would abandon those in need. In frustration, she threw Sean's phone aside and decided to board the burning ship with him. In space, Victor felt overwhelmed with guilt. Once again, he couldn't directly save his daughter. Sean and Laura, now resolved, boarded a small boat and made their way to the burning ship. Upon entering the ship, they started searching for the fire extinguishing program in the main control room. But unfamiliar with the layout, they were lost. As the fire raged around them, Laura's phobia of fire flared up and panic set in. Sean began fixing Laura's toy so that Victor could reconnect and guide them. Once the toy was repaired, Victor resumed contact, directing them toward the control room. However, as they moved forward, a large fire blocked their path. Sean, overwhelmed by the smoke and heat, collapsed, leaving Laura terrified and alone. Seeing the fire triggered her worst fear, and she froze, unsure of what to do. But Victor, watching from space, couldn't let her fail. He came up with an idea. Since one of Sean's arms was robotic, Victor hacked into it remotely. He used it to hold Laura's hand, giving her the courage to keep going. Through the connection, Victor spoke to Laura, telling her that she needed to leave her fear behind and head for the control room. He also apologized for distancing himself after the elevator incident, admitting that his guilt had driven him away. He confessed that the space station was about to burn up in Earth's atmosphere and he would soon die. Before that happened, he wanted to save his daughter to make up for the past. Laura, hearing his words, forgave him. The years of trauma and fear finally lifted, and with newfound strength, she donned a suit and walked through the flames toward the control room. Reaching the control room, Laura activated the fire extinguishing program, saving the ship from exploding. Meanwhile, in space, Victor's ship began to disintegrate as it entered Earth's atmosphere. But Victor felt peace in his final moments. He had saved his daughter, and the burden he had carried for years was finally gone. On Earth, as the fire was extinguished, Laura carried the injured Sean out of the ship. Looking up at the sky, she saw the burning remains of her father's space station. Victor had sacrificed himself, but he had saved her life. With tears in her eyes, Laura reunited with her mother, Rachel, and her stepfather, Boris, finally accepting them as her family. The story ends with hope, the bonds of family restored, and Laura overcoming her deepest fears. And with that, the video closes, encouraging viewers to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting sci-fi content.